Here we go. All right, guys, welcome to the Friday Mastermind. Every Friday, 9 o'clock. Is it 7 or 8 years, Todd, that we've been doing this now?
Since 2016, my friend. We are just upon almost our anniversary here in the fall.
Oh my God. So it's been an amazing ride. We're getting lots of great feedback from the Friday Mastermind. I think it's never been more important that if you are a local referral-based mortgage professional or real estate agent or financial planner or CPA, anybody that really surrounds the family, uh, you need to evolve. And so we've got a special guest that I'm going to announce in just a minute. Todd, anything you want to say before we to frame the call before we kind of go around?
Well, I mean, I think that you nailed it with that word evolve. I think it's a challenge right now where a lot of us are stuck doing the same things we've always done and getting the same results, right? That's the definition of insanity. And so when we have the opportunity to have not one but two brilliant minds with us who are talking about where we should be looking, not where we've been, I think it's a great opportunity. And of course, always to have none other than Deborah Bird alongside of us is always amazing Friday morning.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to learn a little bit more, obviously, about AI and also just to help people evolve in the sense that I think there's a lot of uncertainty. So hopefully by the end of today's call, we'll have a little bit more clarity and it can allow people to be pulled into motion and take that first initial step so they can evolve.
Right on. And then I asked Eric Post to join. He's usually a special guest. This is the first time where he's joined as a moderator because he knows real estate, he knows mortgage, and then he's built an AI platform called Whoosy.ai. Eric, anything you want to say before we introduce our special guest and we get after it?
Yeah, I mean, I think mindset is the last competitive advantage. I say that all the time. I continue to say that. And so as these tools evolve and people get kind of sort of democratized access to them, how we position ourselves in order to partner with these systems and tools becomes the name of the game. And so this mindset is just what I hope to extract today is what's the mindset that today's mortgage professional, real estate professional needs to have in order to understand, implement, and ride this wave and serve their clients deeper than they ever have before. So that's what I'm focused on today.
All right. And Steve, Eric is a Portland guy. So we've got three
Right.
Pacific Northwest leaders. I can now put myself in that camp. So guys, Steve Brown has an incredible book called The Innovator's Ultimatum. Yeah, let's show it.
Almost. You're almost right. The innovation ultimatum. Pretty
There you
close.
go. Get it. If my library hadn't been packed 2 days ago, I would have had a copy of the book. It really is, guys. I first interviewed Steve, I mean, 2 years before COVID, maybe three. And he's the one, because I've quoted many times that, hey, if you want to win, you need to WACD your business. I got that from Steve. Now we are in a market now where if you're a mortgage, you need to WRACD, what Rocket can't do and what Rocket can do. And if you're in real estate, put a Z in it, what Zillow can do, what they can't do. And truly, there's no one better to kind of unpack this than Steve Brown, formerly was it Chief Futurist at Intel? What was your title at Intel?
Chief evangelist and futurist.
There you go. And then you recently had a stint with Google. What were you doing with those guys?
So I went over back to London to recharge my outrageous British accent and spent a couple of years working for DeepMind. DeepMind is Google's AI research labs in London.
So
And I led their marketing and communications and public affairs, but I was also acting as their in-house futurist for a bit, helping them think about the future of assistance.
So guys, we've got truly a AI insider. So Steve, before, we've got kind of an agenda that we put in the headline, but I would love to have you comment to what Eric said in terms of mindset is everything and how you interact. What are your thoughts on what he said and what might you add to that?
AI is not a monolithic thing. It's not like you have to figure out how to use AI and it's just a binary. Okay, I figured it out. I'm using it. There are going to be waves of change the same way that the internet brought waves of change over 25 years, right? It's equivalent to back in 1998, if you got a .com and then said, okay, check, I have done the internet. There were lots of things you had to do after that. There was figuring out e-commerce and digital payments, and then there was the cloud, and software stopped coming in boxes on CDs, and mobile came, and there's all these different phases of the internet over 25 years, and you had to ride each wave. The same is going to be true with AI. You're going to have to ride the waves that come at you over the next 5 to 10 years, and you know it's not going to be like, oh, okay, we've got ChatGPT at our company now, and we've figured out how to use it. There's a lot more to it than that. So I know that which can sound a bit daunting, but that's the reality. Is we all had to learn new skills for the digital transformation. We're going to have to learn new skills for the AI transformation.
So just a reminder, the audience are a combination of local referral-based loan officers, who, by the way, want to be leaders to local referral-based realtors, and then leaders of those people. That is like the audience of who we're talking to. So almost like the same question I asked you when we first spoke, and you did the whole WACD analogy on me. What are some of the most important things this audience needs to hear right now in 2025?
So the most important thing I think most audiences that I speak with need to hear is that things aren't going to go away. You're not going to be automated, right? There are some roles that will be automated, but the ones that will survive, the ones that will be cherished by customers, are the ones that are about human connection and trust. And guess what? The people who work in real estate transactions are at the center of that. People are making perhaps the biggest investment of their lives when they're buying property and taking out a big loan to do that. And they're making a choice which is going to live with them for 7 to 10 to 15 years. So they want help to be guided through that process by a human being that they trust, not an algorithm, not a robot, a human being. Now, once you recognize that it's going to be about a human to human connection, and there's multiple connections here, right? There's the loan officer, there's the real estate agent, there's the buy side, the sell side. Once you recognize that these people who are actually working together in a little team that comes together to make a transaction happen, then you think about, well, how could I wrap AI around that to make that connection tighter and to make things just run more smoothly? So that's the way I would encourage people to look at AI transformation: is how do I pair AI with a human to help that human do more or perform better or streamline processes, but don't try and take the human out of the equation.
Love that. Eric, I'm going to give you, after I ask this question, kind of the follow-up to this, and then we'll go around. Deb, want to remind anybody on this audience, if you have questions, put them in chat. We will get to those. So, and you've got to know Mortgage Coach pretty well, where we're giving families options, we're showing them strategies, we're showing them strategies how to pay off their mortgage faster. At the end of the day, like at the time of the transaction, help people build wealth with real estate faster and achieve financial freedom faster. So literally this week, we released AI into what we called the Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis, so that a consumer can interact with that experience, just like with a chat agent. And so they can ask the questions, and then the loan officer knows how the consumer is interacting with it, so they can be even more tailored. We've got a whole AI roadmap, but I would love you to just speak into loan officers, because still adoption is one of our biggest challenges. Loan officers, they're not jumping into these things. And I really think for the leaders that I lead that are part of our network, it's like the number one priority is like pick good technologies like ours, and then make loan officer adoption your number one priority. So any thoughts on that? And then also any just ideas or suggestions to improve adoption of best practices?
That's for me directly, Dave?
No, that's to our guests. And then
me.
we're going to
Got
have
it.
a question. Yeah, that's to Steve. Sorry about that, Eric.
No, it was my ADD kicking in. I got you. Let's go.
It could have been me.
And maybe it should get Eric, because I'm not an expert in, I know a bit about the real estate world, but I'm not an expert in there. What I will say, it's sort of a more broad comment, which is you're doing exactly the right thing with Mortgage Coach. You know, what I see, I'm an AI futurist, right? I'm thinking about what's going to happen next. How will AI roll out? How will it change the way people do businesses, customer experiences, and so on? One of the things I talk about is that AI is the new UI. So the new user interface and the expectation from consumers will be that AI is part of the user interface such that it becomes more natural. You know, that's one of the advantages of being able to use a large language model is that it can be a conversational interface. So you're moving away from pressing buttons and sliders and that sort of thing, and just talking and having a human-like conversation with a tool so that it becomes a collaborator and less of a tool. So it sounds like you're going that direction, and I would encourage everybody who's using tools like that to be looking for ways to make the interactions with those tools feel much more natural, which means integrating AI into them.
Love that. So yeah, Eric, feel free to respond to that or ask the next question.
This is so much fun. This is so much fun because I just said with my team yesterday is actually AI is the new UX, actually.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's so great to hear it come from you from spinning from the other way. The reason for that is the name of the game, as far as I can see it, is collaboration, and that's between the loan officer, the mortgage professional, real estate professional, the person, and inviting AI into this collaboration. The challenge for the consumer is, in order to have an effective conversation, you have to know what questions to ask. And that's the biggest challenging point for both the mortgage professional working with AI and the consumer working with AI is that point of clarity.
Mm.
And the point of clarity comes from when you have an expertise in this marketplace and in this industry. And so the value that the professional brings is leading the conversation. And AI at this point doesn't do a great job of leading the conversation. It does a great job of participating in the conversation. And so the professional's role is to lead that conversation, or a great designer or company like Trust Engine. What we're trying to do here is to provide that leadership. So the UI and the UX provides the leadership to the consumer and the mortgage professional, so we have a better chance of success for that collaboration between the three entities.
What he said. Yeah, exactly that. And that's where the trusted part comes in, right? It's a guide who's going to hold your hand and take you through the process. And AI is there to help facilitate that, make it easier, but it's the loan officer that's going to be the person that holds your hand and makes it feel like a trusted experience. So I completely agree.
And any questions, Eric, you have for Steve so far?
Yeah, I've got a whole list of questions because what a fun conversation to have with an expert here. And I'm just so jealous of the accent because that would be more impactful whenever you say something here. Um, just from a contrarian point of view, stuff like this, conversations like this, I try to take the contrarian point of view, not to be argumentative in any way, but just to help shade the conversation and have the more well-rounded and honest conversation. Um, the economic model in this industry is obviously founded on the in-depth process, the origination, the research, the processing, and all those sorts of things, right? Just stepping into the future, Steve, as you can see it, how does the economic model of things like this that are heavily reliant on the processing, the human processing part of this, when that
Mhm.
starts to get replaced by a lot of agentic AI, especially looking in the future, how does that impact the economic model and place the value of the human being in this whole game, mortgage and real estate?
Yeah, on the processing side of things, that's not about trust and human connection. So I'll be blunt, that is more at risk of automation. Um, you know, yes, I've been practicing my British accent all my life, but I got it living in England, and I have bought property in England, and the process is much easier than it is in America. I was shocked and appalled when I came to the US and bought my first property at how complicated it is, how much regulation there is, how much paperwork there is, and how many hands touched the transaction. And you can think of that as how many hands were held out waiting to be paid to touch that transaction. So I think realistically, as much as regulation will allow, that's what is holding the market in the form that it's currently in. Um, as much as regulation will allow, where it's not about trust, it's just about processing a loan, agentic AI will play a role. And it doesn't mean the humans will be gone from that process, because the way to think about agents is the way I describe them is PhD level naive interns who make mistakes. So we're going to create these AI agents, which is just a smart piece of software, but they're going to behave more like co-workers than tools. But they're going to need human oversight. So the people who are involved in loan processing aren't going to go away. We may need fewer of them if we're honest, but they're going to be their role will expand to oversee AI agents that are doing the work, and they become managers of those agents. So they can handle more throughput, and overall, because agents work for electrons and not dollars and cents, that means that will help to remove some cost from the transaction.
So, I'm going to ask one more question, and then Todd, you will give the feedback and have a question. You picked this headline, like I had a headline like the future is here, but then the headline that we actually have for this call, you picked that. Why did you pick it, and why don't you kind of describe the three types of AI that you laid out to talk about?
Sure. So, yeah, what I do in my day-to-day job, when I'm not doing podcasts with my buddy Dave, I'm helping clients, companies big and small, to navigate the world of AI. So it's titled AI Now and Next because that's what my main keynotes are titled. It's help people understand what can AI do now and where is it going next, so I understand the trajectory and I can start to build my strategic plan around the capabilities that will be coming. And I just have a reaction to the overuse of the term "the future is now," which was the original title. It's just an awful marketing trope, which I try and avoid because I've heard it too many times. Now, then it goes colon, and then there are three types of AI. So, why did I suggest those? Um, I try and help to prepare my audiences not only for, okay, what can AI do now, but what will it be able to do next? And as I described about, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes ago, the same way that the internet had waves that you had to surf every single wave as it came at us, the same is true of AI. So we're now surfing the generative AI wave with large language models. What's next? There are three waves coming at us that we can see, maybe more. Agentic AI, which we just talked a little bit about, and I can expand on more. Spatial AI and physical AI. So what are those things? Agentic AI it's a piece of smart software, but it's an AI that has agency. So it has reasoning capabilities, planning capabilities, and agency, meaning it can use tools to get things done. So think of an agent almost like a co-worker who happens to be a digital co-worker. And that agent is going to be able to handle quite complex tasks that you give it. So at the moment, when you use a chatbot, it's this sort of turn-by-turn conversation. You ask a question, it comes back with an answer, and then it waits patiently for you to give it another instruction. With an agent, you'll be able to give it a quite complex instruction. It will go away, break that down, reason its way through the complex task, break it into subtasks, and then it will be able to go and execute those tasks. Now, how's it going to execute tasks? It will have access to tools. So it'll be able to use your browser, for example, with your permission to go to websites and actually, work its way through them. It'll be able to use a tax calculator tool. It'll be able to use whatever tool it needs, image creation tool, to perform the task that you have given it. So I'll give you an example from outside the real estate industry to maybe bring it to life a little bit. Let's say I have a marketing agent. I'm about to have a new marketing campaign, advertising campaign. I explain what it is I'm promoting. I give it a budget. I tell it I want, social media and broadcast element to it, and I want it to go and create me a whole campaign. The agent will go away, realize, okay, I need other agents to help me here. So it'll create new agents, an agent to focus on creating the ad copy and images, so that, marketing assets. Another agent that will then go and work on a social media strategy, one that will focus on a broadcast strategy, one that will manage the finances and figure out the ROI of this projected campaign. They all work together. And before they come back to you, they realize, oh, we need to go and talk to the agent in the legal department and get this legal reviewed. And then it brings back to you a fully formed campaign with assets, imagery, marketing messages, a social media campaign, an ad, all the things with an ROI and a financial analysis, and it does that in 10 minutes, legal reviewed. So that's the future that we're imagining with these agents as they work together, because they have agency and intelligence to be able to collaborate on teams to perform quite complex actions on our behalf. So your next co-worker may be a digital employee, an AI agent. So that's the world of agents. 2025 has been declared by many people, not just me, as the year of agents. What that means is that's when we'll see the first agents coming to market, and every major AI company is scrambling to get them to market. And then I think you'll see them roll out quite broadly in the 2026 and 2027 timeframe through enterprises and medium small businesses across America. So that's agentic AI. Do you want me to pause there before we go to spatial and physical? Any
Well, I want to
questions?
make sure we get them all.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I do want to give Eric, because he is an AI entrepreneur, a chance to weigh in on that. And then Todd, anything you want to say at this point? But I mean, let's just make sure before this is over, I think it really is a wonderful educational experience for our industry to kind of hear what's now in agenic AI, year of 2025. It's here. But Eric, anything you want to say to that or comment? And then we'll go.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Dave. Steve, I'd love your opinion on that specific thing. This industry is a knowledge-based, service-based industry, similar to legal and even medical, for a lot of it. And I feel for my legal team, I feel for my medical team, I feel for anybody I'm around now because I'm armed more than they are, with this sort of technology. And part of the issue I see with this industry is it's maximizing towards efficiency, maximizing, right? We're in a capitalist society. That tends to be the metric that organizations from the top down gear themselves towards. So as we build these AI partners, one of my concerns is the second and third level of problems that are created by the first problem trying to be solved. That's efficiency, right? And so a lot of these AIs can see are being built and trained towards maximizing efficiency. Well, let's look at this industry for half a second. We have got two borrowers. One is a self-employed borrower with messy, high compute level of tasks that need to be done to do the loan. We've got a W-2 employed borrower over here. It's just simple wham bam. I can see a problem with these AI employees favoring one over the other, not for bias, but simply for compute, as an example, or for efficiency, right? So, how does the industry kind of step away from itself and not actually create a second, third level problem by maximizing for efficiency instead of maximizing for value, as an example?
Yeah, it's a good example. And one of the things I tell my clients is you have to remember that the last, let's say, 50 years of the IT industry's focus has been productivity and efficiency, because that's what the digital revolution brought us largely. And that is a good focus, like you say, in a capitalistic society, because we're all trying to be more efficient and push cost out of the process and make things better for everybody, create more wealth as we go. But AI is different. You can use AI again to boost productivity and efficiency, but that is sort of almost a 20th century way of looking at things, because AI is a different beast. Yes, it can do productivity and efficiency, but you need to look at other vectors of performance. So I always talk about performance increases, not productivity increases. Productivity is an important vector of that, but you can also use AI to partner with a person to elevate their creativity, their intuition, expand their knowledge, improve their decision-making abilities, and so on. There's all these other vectors of performance that you can boost with AI. And I think that's the real opportunity of these agents, is not just that sort of single directional productivity boost, but to think about other ways you can make life better for real estate agents and loan officers. I'll give an example. There are AI tools today that can elevate the intuition of a real estate agent based on data on their previous clients, to intuit that, oh, this is probably a good time to give them a call because the AI is predicting based on the age of their kids, how long they've been in the home, that they're probably about ready to move to a new property. And guess what? They pick up the phone. Bob and I were just talking about that. We might want to move house soon. How amazing that you called. So there are ways that AI will elevate people's performance and abilities that are beyond productivity and efficiency.
I just hoped all the leaders in the space really heard that, Steve. That was I was hoping you would just lead directly to that space. Effectively, the efficiency game is a zero-sum game. You can only get to zero in speed. You can only get to zero in money. You know what I mean? However, the saving yourself to prosperity isn't the name of the game. It's revenue production, it's value production, and I thank you for pointing that out to the group. I was really hoping you did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was
How do you use AI to amplify the humanity in your organization? That is the question.
boom. So I do have to weigh in real quick because what you said was so powerful. And first of all, any loan officer that's on this call, you should forward this to your management team. Is if they really listen to the advice and the wisdom they're getting right now, like we could end this call right now and it's game changing. And the industry needs to go from a production, a volume based industry. First of all, it needs to be a profit first industry because most mortgage lenders haven't been profitable for the past 3 years. But we need to become a value. Like people don't get loans because they want loans. And yes, they want homes, but the true American dream is home ownership and financial freedom. So how do you optimize for financial freedom for consumers? And with AI, like what we're doing here with Trusted is we can be more predictive, higher in the funnel, and understand the needs of a consumer and the eligibility of a consumer based off of data. And now we can use AI to hey, here, to your point, here's someone, we call them coaching opportunities, to give that consumer the right advice at the right time. And then we're using AI to actually create the mortgage coach experience. You're going to love it when we talk offline, Steve. Like literally, we are using AI to go, hey, here's some data. Let's create a mortgage coach experience. And we're not even calling them TCAs anymore. We're calling them homeowner strategies. Like here's a strategy to save money and achieve financial freedom faster. And if you're a manager on this, guys, you need to get LO adoption of using these tools in a best practice way. Todd, is there anything you want to comment before we continue down the thread?
Well, I just know that there's loan officers here who are blown away, right? I love this whole conversation. And, Eric, you become my AI guru. And, as a Whoosy user for everything I do, I really love it. But I think that most people struggle with just where to start. So, Steve, where would you recommend someone who feels totally ignorant around AI and maybe how they could like take the next steps of their education? Where would you recommend they begin?
Oh, that's a big question. So one of the things that I offer my clients is because I get asked this a lot, right? Because I stand on stage in a keynote and I tell people the best thing you can do to invest in yourself is to boost your AI literacy. Learn what AI is, the different flavors of it, what kind of problems it can solve, and then practice using it. The same way that if you think about the people that you have worked with in your career, right? There are everybody's different, and you figure out, how do I work with this person to get the best results out of them? How do I interact with them? And there's always some weird people in the office, right, that take a little bit of extra effort to figure out. And then how do I motivate them and get them to help me do the things I need to do? And by the way, if there isn't a weird person in your office, then the weird person is probably you. But we have to figure out people, right? You have to understand their quirks, their motivations, and figure out how to get the best results out of them. AIs are no different. You have to learn how to speak to an AI to get the best results out of it. It's called prompt engineering, but I think prompt engineering as a term will go away because the AIs will get so good you don't have to figure out the right order of words and the right way to say things to get results. But we will still need to figure out, what are these tools capable of and how do I use them? I created an online resource called Artificial Wisdom, which tries to answer all of the questions you asked, Todd. So, what are the resources I need? What are the books I should read? What are the podcasts I should listen to? What are the YouTube channels I should sign up for other than this one? And if you go to my website and scroll down to the bottom, you can, I think you have to put an email address in just to stop like robot spam bots getting in there. I don't think we use it for anything. So just go to my website, stevebrown.ai, scroll down to the very bottom and you'll see artificial wisdom. I think you put in your email address and then it'll give you access to that site. And it's a site that I keep up to date. It also has links to tools that you might want to try out, organized like by business operation tools or chatbots or image creators or video creators and so on. So that's a good way to get started. I think there are also some links to free training courses on AI, which are provided by companies like IBM and Google, just to get people up to date on what is machine learning, how does it work. So there's some technical ones and then some less technical ones. So I hope that's helpful.
So everybody feel free to multitask, go to stevebrown.ai, put it in. Also for anyone that either is the one that brings speakers to your sales rallies or you have influence, I can't recommend Steve enough. I've recommended him to a number of stages. I remember when you spoke for Prime Lending, you spoke at the mortgage digital conference or digital mortgage the same year that I was on that stage. Steve, if someone wants to, recommend you for a keynote presentation, just go to your website and it's pretty obvious, or any other color you want to put around speaking
Yeah,
opportunity?
you can either go to my website, you can learn about me, you can see some of my talks on YouTube. There's my name is very boring, Steve Brown. It might as well be John Smith. So there are other Steve Browns out there. So if you want to find me, just type Steve Brown AI Futurist, and all sorts of stuff will pop up. So you can check me out that way. You can go to my website and there's a contact form, so stevebrown.ai, or you can just email me, steve@stevebrown.ai, and that's the easiest way to get to me.
Sweet. Well, I don't think there's ever been a 30-minute of a call go, and we haven't heard from Deborah Bird yet. So Deborah, anything you want to make sure people are taking away from this, or a question you have for Steve?
So I have a question in what you see for the future of, like, is it possible where a borrower could, say, upload their own tax returns, their bank statements, state kind of what their short and long-term goals are with the purchase of a home, and could AI and this agentic AI and maybe potentially the super intelligence, could they essentially create the strategy? Like maybe they even had access to like a mortgage coach, and so they're showing a total cost analysis all through AI. Where does that leave the loan officer role? What's left?
So to answer your question honestly, perhaps. I think an AI will have the capability to analyze your financial statements. It can, understand them, read them. It can read a PDF scan of it and understand your finances, and then maybe come back with a recommendation. The question is, do you want that? Does a consumer want that? There may be some who do, who trust that, but most will want a human being to help them with that. Like I said before, this is the biggest transaction you're going to make in your life, and you're going to live with the results for 7 to 15 years before you move house again. So I think some people may take that approach when AI gets good enough to do that reliably. But one of the issues with AI today is that it hallucinates. It's a term of art in the industry, which means it makes stuff up. When it's not properly grounded in data, it's not because it's evil, it's just because it doesn't fundamentally understand the difference between writing you a poem and answering a factual question. So I think there's a trust factor there, which is that AI is very powerful, it's very useful, but at least for now, it's not reliable enough to use as an advisor on such a big decision, because it can get things wrong and it can say things very convincingly, and you have no idea that it's making stuff up.
Yeah, and Deborah, I want to also provide an answer on that because I'm really close to this. I mean, we're actually, while we have an incredible integration with Encompass, Optimal Blue, Poly, I'll call it loan manufacturing technologies, we're working very closely with them, and they're very thoughtful of like, hey, how can we automate loan manufacturing? And to Steve's point, it's not going to eliminate all processors, but it is going to reduce the headcount for sure. And I've seen the automation. It's making it more accurate. It's making it faster. Boom. But then the way we see it and the way we're building out Trust Engine and what we call MortgageCoach Next Generation is like in between. Like we are an AI advice assistant. So let's identify the consumer. By the way, let's be more proactive. People say that like speed of thought is where it's at. No, no, no. We as an industry need to get better at creating opportunities. Like literally going to the consumer. They hadn't even thought about it. Did you know this is what moving up looks like? Did you know this is what moving down looks like? So the AI assistant will tell them where the opportunities are, and then there'll be a human experience. Now, AI is going to create the mortgage coach experience. And we are evolving the AI experience so that as the consumer is interacting either with a voice or with a keyboard, that they are updating and interacting with that experience. So I mean, that will be done by the end of the year. And so, Deborah, I think the way I would answer it, if you're local, you've got an advantage. If you're great at connection and you're using these tools in a trusted way to really help the consumer, like, hey, what do you believe? Because you know what AI doesn't know? It doesn't know what that consumer thinks interest rates are going to do. It doesn't know what that consumer thinks home values in their local market is going to do. It doesn't know what that human being's goals are. When does that human being want to, doesn't know when they're going to have their next kid or how many kids they want to have in their family. And so the better that the loan officer can be at interacting with the consumer to unpack their assumptions and then use AI to help optimize that humans build wealth with real estate, achieve financial freedom with the roof over your head. Like that's the future, how we see it. Steve, any thoughts on that?
That's exactly right. AI's AI is a term of art we use. I would have preferred if we called it simulated intelligence, because AI will simulate an emotional response. It will simulate empathy, but it doesn't really fundamentally understand humans and human motivation. It will simulate that. But I think you're right, Dave. This is about a human-to-human connection and having a human conversation. You can really only understand the motivations of another human if you have a human lived experience. So I think that's a really important factor.
My follow-up question to that is then, okay, if hyper local in human connection and building trust is, the ultimate kind of path of the future, how do you train, or what's like your go-to playbook of how to grow your visibility to get the LLMs to refer you if they were to type in like who's the best loan officer in Orange County, California? Like how do you get to that recommendation level?
Yeah, that's tricky because what's happening is the web is going to slowly die because we're now putting a layer of AI over the top of it. And when people are looking for information, they're going to go to AI first, whether that's a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Claude. And then the AI is going to crawl the web and surface information. You can actually go to an AI and ask it exactly that question, Deborah. I am a real estate agent. I am a loan officer. SEO is going away. So how do I elevate my stature? What it will tell you is post lots of content. Be really active blogging, get lots of followers on social media. That is how you elevate your stature, by creating lots of content, getting cross-linked. You can't just sort of SEO your way through it anymore with keywords. You have to actually become an authority and be recognized as such by the AI, essentially. So yeah, if you're looking for more detail on what you should specifically do there, literally go ask an AI and it will tell you.
Yeah, I know Deborah loved that. And I did a recent call. Do you know Justin Tucker with WFG? He's the chief strategy officer for one of the 5 largest, he's a Portland guy. And he did a Facebook post, it was probably a month ago. And he was like, all that will matter in the future for realtors and mortgage professionals is AI and personal brand. And I'm like, there's some truth to that. Like, use AI, but build a personal brand. So let's make sure you get through the headline. Go ahead and rock out the next 2 types of AI and let's see
Sure.
where it goes.
Yeah, and these are going to be less relevant to your world, but they're still important to understand directionally where things are going. So, what are the two things? There's spatial AI and physical AI. Spatial AI is an AI that can understand the physical world, spatial AI. So, physical space, 3D space and time. By using cameras, it can observe a scene and understand objects, the relationship between objects, and the physics of the world. So, physics and causation. Um, so, for example, if you look at some demos online from Google, they're Project Astra. So, if you Google um, Google Project Astra, it'll give you lots of demos that show you the types of capabilities that are coming. Most AIs today, large language models, they understand the world through the lens of language, through words. But the world isn't run on words. The world is, a physical environment that we live in. These spatial AIs are trained to understand the physical world. So that gives you a whole new type of assistants that are going to understand your physical context right now and deliver value and services in the moment based on your context. Now, how are they going to do that? This is the new form factor. All right, you're going to have a camera in your glasses. You may or may not have an overlay, a digital overlay with augmented reality. I think most glasses will not have that. But by having a camera here connected to the AI that runs on your phone, your AI in your phone now understands where you are, what you're doing. You can be out shopping and see something and say, uh, what can you find that in a purple color somewhere else? And it'll, it's going to give you all sorts of new capabilities. I think you'll see AI glasses becoming quite a common form factor. And basically the newest form factor that we've had in 20 years since the iPhone came out in 2007. I think that's a big change. You can also imagine having spatial AI on your phone, so you can just whip it out and ask questions about the world. So, where am I? Where's the nearest Starbucks? And all of the things that you might want to do. So check out Project Astra to give you a glimpse into what spatial AI is. If you take spatial AI, so the ability to understand the physical world around you, and agentic AI, and you drop them into a robot, you get physical AI. So physical AI, there are going to be lots of different form factors of robots, but everybody's really fixated on the humanoid form factor. So a human-shaped robot, which is a general purpose robot. The difference here and the breakthrough is robots have been in our lives for 30, 40 years. They've been building our cars for decades. But those robots do repetitive actions and they're programmed step by step. So if I wanted to program to pick up my phone, I have to say, reach down, grip, lift, back, right? Now to do step-by-step programming. The difference with these general purpose robots is they use generative AI, agentic AI. They have amazing sensors in them, sensors in their heads, in their wrists. And you're able to talk with them and give them a command and they will execute it. And they don't learn by being programmed step by step anymore. They learn by observing humans performing a task, either by literally standing there watching you a few times or by watching YouTube videos to learn how to do stuff. So they learn by observation and then practice the same way a human does. And the key thing is once one robot has learned how to do a task, they all learn how to do the task. So there are robotics companies who are making incredible progress. If you want to see what this looks like, here's some other stuff to Google. I think the leading company is called Figure. I have to say that in an American accent because people can't understand when I say figure. Figure, Figure. So you go to figure.ai. and look at what their robots look like. They're on trials in BMW factories in South Carolina. They're able to collaborate together, hand objects to each other. They're talking about doing alpha testing of these robots in homes this year. The company is it's about just turned 3 years old, and it's mind-blowing, even for people like me who live and breathe this stuff, how quickly they're making progress. So check out figure.ai or Google go to YouTube and do figure robot. You'll be blown away by what they can do.
What are your thoughts on Tesla robots and what they are doing? Are you tracking and how they're
Of
doing?
course, I'm tracking them,
I
Dave.
know you're tracking. I just
I'm
give me
tracking about
some
20
stock
different,
advice, man.
yeah, 20 different robotics companies. I have been very unimpressed by what I've seen coming out of Tesla with their Optimus robots. Maybe Elon will surprise us, but there's been way too much smoke and mirrors coming out of them. I mean, when they had their first Optimus and it was a guy in a suit dancing. More recently at their robo-taxi launch, which also seemed to be a bit vaporwary, they had robots there interacting with the crowd. But it became quickly apparent that when they're talking to these robots, they're actually talking into a microphone and a speaker in the robot that's then being run by a person remotely. So there's an enormous amount of bullshit in that Tesla camp for robots. For
What
now.
about what about, I can't remember if this was a conversation you and I had in the middle of COVID, but at one time you had kind of said, hey, autonomous is coming quick. And then you said, hey, it's not as quick as I thought.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
how are we doing on autonomous, and is it going to happen where we truly have autonomous vehicles, trucks?
Yeah.
Where are things at on that?
It's a very hard problem to solve. The leader is Waymo. They're doing 250,000 rides a week. That's a lot of rides. If you go to San Francisco, if you go to Phoenix, there's loads of Waymos picking you up at the Sky Harbor Airport. They're doing well. Tesla is how many robo taxi rides is Tesla doing? It's a very easy answer, 0. So Waymo's way out in front. The difference is they're using LiDAR technology, which is currently still very expensive. A Waymo car costs $250,000. So, to cost reduce that and make it available to all of us, you either have to build an AI that can work without a LiDAR sensor, which is a very expensive 3D laser-based sensor for the environment, and be able to do it with cameras and ultrasonic sensors and radar only, which is what Tesla is trying to do. Um, Maybe that will pan out, or you need to wait for LiDAR sensors to get a lot cheaper. And there are companies working on cost reducing that. So that's why it's taken longer than we thought. Will advances in spatial AI help to accelerate that? Maybe.
Okay, well, we are in the fourth quarter of this amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Steve.
Yeah.
Mr. Post, being an AI guru yourself, what questions and thoughts do you have? And remember, audience, first of all, thanks for the hearts. Tell me if you're loving this conversation as much as I am. Use the reaction buttons. But Eric, any questions or thoughts you want to share before we run out of time?
Yeah, man, it's like I wish we could go another like 15 hours here. So Steve, as a consumer, we have two points of view here. We have the industry and the consumer. As the consumer, I think that there's when we look at them, there's some interesting things that they go through. So for instance, if I buy a ticket to a concert, I don't want the authentic version of that band. And in this industry, we talk about authenticity, be authentic, be authentic. But as a consumer, I want to go to that concert and hear like the version of the songs that I'm familiar with that are consistent. I don't want the hungover version of that band. I don't want the tired version of that band at the end of the day, at the end of the tour. I don't want the authentic version of the band. I want the band that I paid for. And so it's the same thing in this space. We talk about being human and leaning in, and yet the consumer wants a consistent, transparent, efficient experience that they can rely on, right? But the process is still inherently humanly messy. So how does somebody go in this industry kind of audit these two ends of the spectrum to find where they can position themselves that they are the humanist in the transaction, yet still recognize that we have to be the consistent expert in the space as well.
Tricky to answer. I mean, thinking about your your parallel, right? That the band are still human, but they're supported by, a metric ton of technology to help them deliver an amazing experience for the crowd. Incredible lights and smoke machines and lasers and, amplifiers and a road crew that's behind them, to make all that an unforgettable moment, right? You're creating moments in time. I think the same is true here. Think about the humans you have and then surround them with amazing technology, in this case AI, to create moments, to create experiences and memories so that you are creating a positive experience for your consumers. Same way I want a great experience when I go see Depeche Mode or whoever it might be. Right?
Yeah, my man, Depeche Mode. Todd and I went and saw Depeche Mode last year together.
Yep.
I might have been in the same audience.
Yeah, it was what was that? The Dark Festival in Huntington Beach.
Yeah, that was a great day for sure.
So get loan officers and managers of loan officers. I mean, I hope you heard that. Like, that is the mortgage professional and the real estate professional of the future. And by the way, great analogy, Eric, and how using all those tools to create moments and memories that matter. Uh, the foundation of MortgageCoach was wow tools, surpass the expectations of consumers at scale. And then again, we got to get them to adopt it. Like if loan officers won't adopt it, trust me, there's going to be winners, human winners in this market, but not everybody is going to win. I mean, you're either going to be working on a team with someone that is building the right technology infrastructure, using it, or you're going to be a team member on that, or you're going to be in a different industry. So I really hope you guys get with it. So Steve, before we run out of time, I mean, you came, I've interviewed you. I mean, I think this might be the 8th time we've done a podcast together. So you know the audience pretty well. Is there anything you really think is important to get out before we run out of time?
Two thoughts. The first is when I think about my experiences of going through this. I have a friend who's a real estate agent. I have, one of her trusted people who's a loan officer, and we work together. And it's a painful experience for a consumer. It is not fun to buy a home. It's just not, right? And so going into it knowing it's going to be a shitty experience and it's going to be difficult and there's going to be stress and you're trying to do all the other things in your lives at the same time, having somebody that you trust to walk your way through it, and then when it's all done and you sign, my overwhelming feeling was gratitude to the people who had helped me and made it less painful. It couldn't take all the pain away, but I felt supported and I felt cared for, and I had this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. So I think that's what you should be going for, is how do I feel at the end of this? I've used technology in a way that makes people feel grateful that I was there and I was part of one of the most stressful moments in their lives, right? Moving house, changing relationship, or a new job, they're the 3 big stress points in your life. So that's thought number 1. The other thought I'll leave with you. So this is the carrot. Here's the stick. I just pulled up a presentation that I use, and there's a quote in it from Peter Diamandis that I often leave people with. Peter Diamandis, by the way, he sort of does a lot of the same sorts of work I do. He was founder of the X Prize. He's co-founder of Singularity University. He's a very forward-looking guy, thinks about technology. He's actually a medical doctor by training. And here's the quote from him. There are going to be 2 types of companies at the end of the decade. Those that are fully utilizing AI and those that are out of business. So is that hyperbolic and extreme? Maybe. But it's certainly directionally accurate. So if you're not embracing the latest in technology to improve your customer experience, to improve your efficiency, you're probably going to get left behind. So lean into it, use AI, become as AI literate as you can. I hope the tools I sent you towards will be useful. And just remember that even though we're going to see extreme technological change in the next 5 years, we may see more technological driven change in the next 5 years than the last 50. It's going to be incredible. At the heart of it, despite all this technology, I'm pretty sure the future is still human. So be human.
What a beautiful quote. The future is still human. Guys, I'm going to get a 1-minute close at the very end. Todd, you're going to go second to last. Eric, give us your 1-minute closing thought, and then we'll go to Deborah Bird and we'll wrap this up.
I just put it in the chat. And so my 1 minute closing thought is that you don't have to be in the back of the bus. You don't have to be in the passenger seat. This is your business, your life, our industry collectively. And there is a way for you to sit not just in the passenger seat here, but in the driver's seat and decide where this all goes and how this happens. This doesn't happen on accident. This evolution happens at the result of collaboration between people deciding what happens. And so you can be part of that conversation and be in the driver's seat of your business and decide where this impacts your business and your life. So I would just say, hey, this isn't a passive experience. You be very proactive in the experience and decide how this affects you in your life and your business and your customers, more importantly. So that's my message, that nothing that you hear today should feel like an overwhelming thing. This should be the moment of like, yep, this is my moment of clarity. This is where I want to take my business. This is where I want to take my clients. This is where I want to take my family. And now I have a great collaborator to help me do that better than I've ever had before. So hopefully this is a glass half full and a glass really full sort of conversation for everybody. And I just appreciate being part of this, Dave. Thanks for inviting me on today.
Yeah, no, thank you, brother. Deborah.
From a where to begin, I would start with tools that can help you leverage AI to turn your data into not only opportunities, but also points of empathy for your conversations. That way you can go deeper in connection and trust, and then also look for ways, how can I leverage AI to allow me to be more present in the conversations that matter most? Because there is a lot that AI can do that is, automatic and can take away from like the busy work, but how you then use and reinvest that time is going to be important. So from a prioritization strategy of which tools to invest in first, I mean, I'm sure Dave could go on an entire episode of just Mortgage Coach and the 2.0 version of how it can turn opportunities into, deals, but then how do you leverage to be the superhuman with the AI?
Love that. Todd.
Man, that's hard to top. I would say just re-listen to this, right? I mean, you had a true AI futurist here who's just levels above us, who was asked great questions by the founder of an AI company who's levels above us. And make sure that you have that knowledge as you go forward, trying to figure out how AI works with you. I don't think you're going to get replaced by AI. That's kind of what Steve said, but he said that basically, I think you're going to get shopped. People are going to use that as their second opinion. And so you want to be super knowledgeable. And he kind of walked through how AI is going to come. I think it's just such a great opportunity. I threw a link to Hoosie since Eric's not going to pitch himself. We're going to have him on an upcoming episode so he can kind of walk us through. I recently had Eric talk to one of my top realtor mastermind groups. He wowed them. 90% of the people signed up for his free trial. And they're currently running a $300 for the first year, cost. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And it's just one way to think about how something specifically designed for our industry is working. And it's just been a great thought partner for me. So I would encourage you all to check that out. And I'm just looking forward to hearing Dave's close.
All right, guys. So, I mean, the future is human. Everybody that comes to these shows, that follows this YouTube channel, the path to winning has never been more clear. Like it is time. Like AI is going to shop you. And by the way, will there be a segment of customers, mainly rate and term refi, people with, simple income and debt? Like, yeah, there's going to be less of those available to the local referral-based originator. But first-time home buyers, everything in between is there for you. But you do need to, status quo is not the path forward. So hope you have already subscribed to this channel. Hope you are a mortgage coach and you're giving price with advice. Big fan of Hoosie, as Todd said. There's a place there to sign up for it. If you have not subscribed to Steve Brown's newsletter, stevebrown.ai, I'm just like, I can't help you. I would also recommend his book. Make sure that you tell your leadership team, hey, our sales rally, we need Steve Brown at that sales rally. I would love to see Steve on a lot of stages. Not because he's a friend. He is a friend. We're going to have a pint together, but because I think it's important to local referral-based lenders that they upgrade their people. And I think Steve can tell that story really well. So guys, this is a wrap. We appreciate it. Steve, thank you for making time to come in here and
My
bring your
pleasure.
wisdom. Thanks for everybody who showed up. If you're watching this on video, there will be a link down below. So all the sign up links will be down below. Take care. Have a great weekend. This is a wrap.